Welcome. Thanks for coming out, guys. I really appreciate it. Like you said, it's a Tuesday night. It's not the easiest thing. If at all you cannot hear me, Carissa, thank you. Yell at me. Thank you. Any of you guys too, just let me know. So as Sergio said, my name's Tim Kroll. I go by Bobby Bags on Instagram. And tonight I'll be speaking to you as the co-founder of Faven, which is really cool. Backstory on me, I've been growing for about 15 years. 10 years in a commercial setting, indoor, outdoor, light dep. After everything went legal in 2016, a couple years after, the market got funky. So I actually stopped growing, went back to school, and got a degree from the College of Ag at UC Davis. After that, pretty quickly, I got a job at a well-known cultivation facility here in Sacramento, and that's actually where I was introduced to Under Canopy lighting. And I'll be super honest with you, I thought it was the dumbest thing I had ever seen. And I think that's an honest response from cultivators, because there's always some new technology, there's always some new tool that's gonna make our lives easy and give us all the yield that we ever wanted, and most of the time it doesn't come out like that, right? And so Under Canopy is a little different. We're gonna get into it. So at this point, I'm about a year into the R&D facility, and I decided to leave, take off on my own. And in that time, I'm still pulling the Under Canopy thread, and I'm working with other companies, and I'm trying to find a product that I really like. And one day, I walk into Kevin Vu's office, and I'm like, probably pissed off at something. Something was irritating me, and he's like, dude, just make your own light, and like went back to his computer. And I was like, okay. So that day, Faven was born, right? It just happened, I don't know, and then like we were meeting with engineers 2 weeks later. So anyway, that's how Faven was born, and let's get into it. Next slide, sir. So there's a big juicy number for everybody to look at, right? Nice round number. This is why we're all here, yields, right? So 25% is an easy number to throw up there, but it actually represents the lower end of the average we're seeing on our first time users, okay? We have much better numbers, but this is what I'm comfortable showing and sharing with you guys, right, as first-time users, okay? Next slide, sir. These are some statements from customers. I will not read these because it is kind of a drag. We will throw these up at the end during questions if you want to come up and check them out. The one on the left, LCG, 32%. On the bottom, 37% on our average room yield on the entire facility. On the far right, that's a 51% increase on runts. And then in the middle, we have a 33% increase on their test room. But we can get into that a little later. Go ahead, sir. So where's this yield coming from, right? We're talking all these huge numbers. Where is it coming from? And all we're doing is we're activating a previously underutilized area of the plant. That's it, right? The bottom third is what we're talking about. And everybody in this room is familiar with canopy square footage. But are you familiar with your cubic canopy, right? And it says it right up here, canopy depth, right? The depth of your canopy multiplied by your square footage is your cubic canopy, right? So what is your cubic canopy? And that's what we're really looking at. That's what we're adding. We are adding yield capacity to your existing rooms. No expensive build outs, no permitting process that nobody wants to deal with, right? We're talking about huge yield increases without the cost associated. Okay, next slide, sir. So here's a little side-by-side. One of my favorite strains, Red Dragon. It's been around for about 13 years, hails from the Mendocino coast. It actually won the Emerald Cup in like 2012 or something like that. As you can see here, we've got week 5, same strain, same facility, same fertilizer. The only thing different is no under canopy lighting, right? Right side, under canopy, you can tell. This is one of those strains, and we'll get into strain specifics during questions, I'm sure. This is one of those strains where it's a 2.1, 2.3 yielder, right? And this increased 80%, okay? So there's some outlier strains where they're just absolutely ridiculous numbers, and this is one of them. Go ahead, sir. Okay, so I threw out a bunch of big numbers to you guys. So let's talk about the application of under canopy, okay? And I'm gonna beat this over the head, and I do this in my normal cultivation, right? We keep it simple. We're not looking to make anything too complex for you guys, right? We've got enough on our plate as cultivators. We don't need anything complex in our facilities. So with Faven, we're building out a lot of resources for you guys, easy to use resources. And so we've got a frequently asked questions tab on our website. We have an intro packet that comes with all your deliveries, right? Breaks down the basics of setup down to, de-leaf, dimming, all that good stuff. And then we have this thing called IG Guides, which is brand new to me. I don't even know if you guys know it exists, but it basically allows us to group videos and reels on our Instagram and put them together for you so that you can go to guides on our page, click on it, say, okay, I need to figure out how to dim these or how to install these. And there's gonna be 4 or 5 videos for you to look at right there, right? So you can read all you want. We've got the literature for sure, but a lot of people like myself, we're visual, right? So we're gonna have this for you guys, and it's easy. It's on our Faven page. Hopefully we don't get taken down. We're trying hard not to. But yeah, next please. We've got the resources coming to help you guys. So probably the most common question I get is when to turn on the Favens, right? And in all the side-by-side trials I've done, it shows that you really should be prepping the plant as soon as possible to receive light to their under canopy, right? Think of it, if you've ever grown outdoor, think of it as hardening the plant off, right? We veg them inside all winter, we bring them out in spring, we get them used to the sunshine. If you don't, they scorch, they die, you lose them. That's not gonna happen with under canopy, but it's the same idea with hardening off, right? We don't wanna bring them in to 100% intensity, 100% top lights, right? That's not what we're doing, right? We're gonna keep it simple. So our goal is day 1, 40%, 45%, and we leave it there for a couple days. And we're slowly ramping up day on day, right? And our goal is to get to 100% in the first 2 to 3 weeks, but this is not a race, right? It's not like, oh, I got it done by day 12. He said it was day 14. No. If you get it done by 17, 21, 23, does not matter. The goal is to get it to 100%. And what we don't want to see is any kind of added stress, right? We're not here to stress the plants out anymore. We can do that with our irrigation strategies already. We don't need to add to it. So again, slow and steady. And if it's your first run, do not try to push it. It's not worth it. Slow and steady and figure it out, okay? Next slide, sir. So I always have to talk this, like stop underclearing, right? And I know it's wild, but it's the truth. So let's jump into this. Next slide. Sorry. So pruning, right? We're gonna talk less is more, and like this photo on the side here, that's a sherbet nug right at the end of harvest, and it's hard to tell, but that thing's like 4 inches off the pod or so. Like it's so close to the soil. Usually, you're removing those. So less is more, right? We are not underclearing. We are not doing your typical underclear, 12, 18 inches, what have you, whatever, or to the first trellis is something that most people do, right? So day 1 through 3, we're removing a small amount of leaves that are blocking the light, maybe any nodes that aren't receiving any light, you can kind of go ahead and pull those off, but we're not doing too much, okay? Leave it on and see what happens is the goal, right? Just leave it and see it. Post-stretch cleanup, day 22, 26 or so is kind of like my sweet spot. I like to be done stretching. That's when I'm going in and removing anything that's further blocking the lights or that is just not receiving light. And you know from experience, it's not gonna produce anything, right? That's the time you kind of take that away. But no more lollipopping, no more skirting, no more labor hours. Like how many of you guys are spending, 30% of your budget on underclearing for labor? Like everybody in this room is doing it. So our goal with our pruning is to make sure we have upward mobility of the under canopy light, but not sacrificing what nodes the plant has already produced and is ready to fruit, right? Next slide, please. So strategic de-leaf. This is where you can really see a huge yield increase, okay? So our goal is to increase the upward mobility and the light penetration from the Faven unit. But the overarching goal is to create a perfect mix of top light and bottom light right in the center of the canopy. Because the center of your canopy, that middle third, call it like the meat of the hamburger, that is a high yield potential. And if you can add light intensity to that middle canopy, I can almost guarantee an extremely successful run, right? We are looking to meet that HPS or that LED top light right in the center with that under canopy, right? You want the entirety of the plant lit up, but uniformly lit up, not 1700 ppfd pushed at top, right? We're talking about uniformly lighting the plant and not pushing these gaudy ppf numbers at the top, right? We're taking a holistic approach to lighting the plant. And again, removing any leaves obstructing the lights. Sir. Changes in irrigation. This is going to really, really change facility to facility, okay? 10 to 15% increase in daily water consumption, right? We are adding demand to the plants. They are going to drink a little more, okay? Same thing with fertilizers. This is not a guarantee. You don't have to do this. Your plants will perform just fine without increasing the EC, but it has been shown if you're adding, especially, we'll get into it later, but we're spectrum balancing. We're adding a different spectrum to these plants. They're going to drink a little more, okay? And they're going to eat a little more. So liquid-based fertilizers, we're seeing about a 0.2, 0.3 EC increase, right? Powder-based, 0.5, 0.7. I have some crazy friends that just run crazy high ECs on powder-based, and it works out fine for them too. But these are really good guidelines. I would start at the lower end in your facilities, though. This isn't rampant high. This is just a guideline. But stick to the low end and ramp as needed. Next, please. Secondary changes. And this is secondary because it is not necessary, but it is a theme that we see, and I wanted to make sure we put it out there to you guys. So reduction in plant count and increased substrate, right? So because you're adding lights to your under canopy, right, you're kind of blocking some airflow, right? We're all about our airflow. Airflow is king, okay? So reducing plant count really increases the airflow you can get to that under canopy, and there is a huge correlation to reducing plant count and under canopy lighting, right? Instead of spending your time de-leafing to make sure you get that upward mobility of the light, it's already done for you, and you get to take less leaves off the plant, okay? Substrate size. Sometimes lowering plant count, if you lower it too low, you're going to have this one plant in that same small substrate, and it's going to be doing more. It's going to be absorbing more energy. So it's nice to increase that substrate size and really balance out and give it a little cushion, okay? Again, these are things that we see. Not every facility's doing it, but it's good to know, and I wanted to put it out there for you guys. Go ahead, sir. Faven design. Now, I'm supposed to have a light. Carissa, can you run one up here? It's right there. Please. Sorry, guys. Yeah. You ever on the sales emails? It's all Carissa. It's all Carissa. Anyway, this is going to be tough. Nah, you're good. And we've got a couple demos in the back, guys. Check it out. So the Faven design, right? So we've got this diffused lens. Oh, sorry. Next slide, please. So we've got a diffused lens that really distributes the light intensity uniformly across the bar, okay? Think of it as greenhouse plastic and how it diffuses the sunlight. Same idea. We put a bubble shape. You can kind of see it this way. So we bubbled out the lens, right? We all know if we're running LEDs, as soon as that diode ends, the light intensity ends, right? So we put a bubble on this lens, and it creates a greater throw into the canopy. We also put a wide body, right? Same thing, increasing the throw into the canopy. The coolest thing that Faven has to offer is something we call spectrum balancing. And that is basically taking an HPS room and balancing that very high red, orange, yellow spectrum we're all used to with a little bit of blue, a little bit more red, and a little bit of purples. And I liken it to, if you've been growing long enough, you remember when we checkerboarded metal halides and HPS rooms, right? We checkerboarded them all, and those were the terpiest, the stankiest, like that was the best weed, I swear, the checkerboard, HPS, metal halide rooms. Well, those all disappeared because we were all chasing yield, and there wasn't any front-facing community then, so it just kind of happened in the shadows. Like, nobody really talked about it, but it was a thing. And so when I got the ability to kind of put that spectrum back into the HPS rooms, we saw huge increases in terpenes and cannabinoids and oh my gosh, the rosin percentages are through the roof, by the way. We're giving the plant a fuller spectrum, and honestly, the weed is turning out incredible. And it's incredible top to bottom. Even though there may be a different spectrum on the bottom and on the top, the entirety of the plant metabolizes and utilizes that whole spectrum. So it's very uniform top to bottom. Conversely, a lot of us LED growers in here are using full spectrum LEDs, like it's very white light, okay? And we're kind of missing that red and that orange that gives us that HPS look in the bag, right? LED weed has a specific look. And so what we were able to do is add more red to our under canopy light and really balance that out. And we're seeing some really, really great numbers, really incredible quality coming out. Again, boost in terps, a boost in cannabinoids, and again, top to bottom, right? Same color, same consistency, density, everything. Go ahead, sir. Other important specs. This is IP66 waterproof rated, right? All your irrigation, all your IPM sprays, we're good. You do not have to worry about these. You don't have to put a plastic cover on them. There's nothing. Carry on about your day, okay? This was really, really important to achieve this because as a cultivator myself, we don't have time to baby these lights, right? They can handle the rigors of commercial cultivation. 5-year warranty, again, here to back it up. I'm not gonna sell you some cheap stuff. We're here to stay, okay? 5-year warranty. Voltage, we have 120, 240, 277. Cool thing about these, internal ballast, and it's auto sensing. So if you wanna try a run and you don't wanna drop 277 voltage into your room because it's expensive and electricians charge too much, that's fine. We'll send you some 120 cords, you can plug them into your outlets, right? Try them there. When they work, we'll send you the 277 cords and you can drop it and supply your whole room. Yeah. But you don't have to change the unit is what I'm trying to say, right? It's just a cord. And TrollMaster integration, most everybody is using some kind of TrollMaster, whether you're in a trap, a tent, or you're in a commercial facility, you're using TrollMaster. Take an LMA 14, hook it up, you're off and running, right? Dimmability, on-off function, everything. And last but not least, and I know this is a cliche, but it really was created by a grower, right? This was created because I did not like any of the products on market. I felt like they could be better, they weren't there. And so this really was created by a grower for growers, as cliche as it is, and I see it everywhere. But really, there was a ton of thought put into this design. This is a unit you can put into your facility, and it's not gonna interrupt your daily. Right? And that's really, really important in this commercial setting we're in. We don't have time. We don't have extra labor, right? This is an easy apply technology. Sir? So now that I just rambled on for 15, 20 minutes, the easiest way to get started with us is to fill out our questionnaire online. And it's 3-4 minutes long, and it gives us all the specs we need to build a custom layout for you guys, okay? So we get this information, we spit it back to you in an email, and if you're still not sold and you're still hesitant, which I completely understand, like I said in the beginning, I thought it was the dumbest thing. And then I saw my first yield and I was like, I'm so hooked. It's such a new technology and it's so fun. So if you're still hesitant, start with one bench and try it. Try it on a cultivar or a strain that you know super well. Something that you have a ton of data on. You're like, I know this thing hits 2.8, 2.6, and has this many smalls. Try it on that one. And come back and please tell me the difference because I think you're going to be impressed. Next, sir. Oh. I told you I'd keep it short and sweet because I want all these questions. Even Alex. You, Mango. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. That was a quick pitch. Again, we have a ton of resources on our online, Instagram. We're very reachable. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
Let's hear it for Tim, guys. Round of applause. Tim, you covered it all, man. That's exactly what we've been talking about for the past few months. Solutions, creation. Right, we want to be innovative. We want to be able to share the thought processes. And Alex, I'm stoked that you're in this room too, because I'm looking forward to this discussion. Inter-canopy lighting, under canopy lighting, spectrum balancing, all that stuff. This is a safe space, guys. We want to be able to create this discussion. This is not as subjective. This is really just giving perspective. So,
And before we get into spectrums and all that stuff, there's 2 different spectrums on the back table. They're kind of close to each other, so it's difficult to tell. I can pull those apart. The taller one is the spectrum slated for HPS, and the lower one is slated for LED room, full spectrum rooms. So check it out. All right, questions first.
1 second. Name and where you're from, sir.
Sorry. That's your job.
My name's Anthony. I'm from Modesto. What kind of diodes and drivers are you using?
So we've got Samsung and Osram running. Right. So and drivers, high quality drivers. They're, like I said, they run at a lower temp. They're just killer. We went through a couple. So.
Thank you for the question. What's next? Right back here.
Nice.
Hey, I'm Tobias from a Golden State. You ever have anyone running them perpendicular to the tables as opposed to lengthwise? Have you had any results on that one way or another yet?
Just one facility up north trying it right now.
Wonder which one that is. All right.
It's just these harebrained kids that are up there in Reading. No, we're checking that out now. And honestly, that again, like we have a lot of R&D space, but it is going to be really cool to see how that comes out. I have my thoughts on it. And
let's talk afterwards.
I have my thoughts on it, but you're adding light to your canopy. It's going to work in some capacity. What I worry about is how it fits into the flow of the facility, right? How difficult is it to set up? How difficult is it to break down, right? Because this is meant to be very easy. We just had a 160 light room come down, and all the Favens were stacked, clean, beautiful in 45 minutes. It's going to be a little harder if you're undoing a daisy chain plug, a jumper cable on every light. So I don't know. We'll see. But it could blow who knows? This is a whole new space, so I'm open for it. Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. I'm interested. I'll see you soon.
1 second, sir.
Hey, I'm Jay. Do you recommend cleaning them between every run? Like pulling them off, cleaning them?
Most definitely. Just wipe them down with alcohol is usually the easiest. And they actually stack really well. Like it wasn't intended for that purpose, but they stack really well. 5 or 6 high. We put it on actually like some of the push dollies they have here at Indoor Sun. We have a couple of them. And it's been really easy to stack those on it and move them around the facility as we needed. But we clean them as soon as they come out of the room and stack them clean, right? So they're dirty. They hit the table. 2 guys are wiping them down. I mean, we're talking $300 in labor maybe. Really, really easy. So yeah. Yes, sir. We clean them after every run. Thanks, Jay.
Good question. Thank you. Right back here.
My name is Luis. I got 2 questions, not just one. I want to know how much more energy costs you had to spend, and how much more watering, or how much water content were you losing, or were you still feeding the plant the same way?
Got you. So they're 120 watt. I don't know if I put that on there. They're 120 watt guys. So you can kind of do the math. Like if you're running a 660, right? If you're running LEDs or HPS, those are thousands. So you can kind of figure out your bill as many wattage, like figure out the wattage you're using now and how many unders you'd be adding. And that's in and around, like you could do the backwards math for you because it really differences. Like we have guys that are trap that pay really, really high prices a kilowatt. And then we've got commercial guys that pay way less. So it's hard to gauge like how much. As a percent though, you can just figure out how much wattage you're adding to your existing room. If you have 1,000 watts and you're adding 20 of these, you can just do the math backwards, and that should be in and around what you're going to see on your bill. They're not at 100% the whole time, so it may be a little less than that, right? But as for water consumption, 10 to 15% more water at the high end, right? That's just a number to help everybody prepare for that, right? But it's not like go get another reservoir tank, right? It's not that substantial where it's really interrupting what you have set up as is, right? But both power and water consumption, the yield will, I pretty much guarantee this, the yield will trump that. Whatever that cost is, it won't even compare. So, good question though.
Thank you.
Good question. Thank you. Up here.
All right, Arvum in the house.
Hey folks, Sam from Arvum here. So I just had two questions, one for you and one for the audience. How many of you in the audience have actually seen under canopy lighting, like late flower in a facility at this point?
Raise your hand.
All right, that's not what I thought it would be more than that. I saw it for the first time with Tim, and this shit blew my mind. I have never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
And I work in the same space as all of you. I've been to a lot of grows all around. I've never in my life seen anything like this. My other question for you, Tim, is there a max number that you can daisy chain together?
Yes, again, another thing I should have put on a slide. I'm
All
so
good.
sorry. So at 277 volt, we're trying to make this really easy for the cultivators and really cheap to install, right? Because electricians, they love the cannabis tax, right? They love to hit us over the head. At 277, you can daisy chain 20 units in a row, which is pretty typical, right? You've got, most people have like 40-something foot benches, right? So you're at that 20 mark, 20 lights on that row. They're 4-foot lights. Probably didn't say that either. I'm sorry. At 240, right, if you're running 240, you can daisy chain 17 together. And at 120, if you're just plugging it into your house and you got a trap going, you can actually run 10 of them on a circuit. So very, very usable. And they interconnect into each other directly. And they also can daisy chain through a jumper cord. So. And then to your first point, asking the audience, I'm going to do that next time I give a talk. Thank you. I'm going to steal that. Also, this is one of those things that seems like such a gimmick until you see it, right? Until I saw it work and I saw numbers came out and I was looking at this chronic bud like 4 inches off the soil, like until you see it, it seems really fake. But it only takes one time. It only takes one table, legitimately. Oh. You'd agree? Oh, yeah, Lumpy's knows.
Name and where you're from.
Hi, I'm Michael from Colas.
Oh, what's up, Michael?
What's going on? So my question is, what kind of PPFD are you expecting from the top to middle to the bottom of the subcanopy?
Good question. So the top is up to you, right? That's your control, whatever you're comfortable with. I would argue...
Tim, a little closer to your mouth, please.
Sorry. So the top is your call, okay? I like to keep mine lower than most, right? I'm sub 1,000 on most everything. LED's a touch higher, but I'm sub 1,000 on HPS all the time, right? So I'm keeping that the same, all right? So I'm not really messing with the top. But if you are feeding very high intensity to your top, it's advantageous for you to kind of decrease that in the meantime and increase your under canopy, right? So think of it as the whole entirety PPFD. And we're 600-700, depending on how far away you are from the light. We're getting ample light to these nugs down there. So it's a sustained medium amount of PPFD, but it's sustained and it's direct and it's where the light is in proximity, right? So it is so close to these buds that they're beautiful and they're dense and the color uniformity top to bottom is exceptional. So, middle canopy, a little tougher because that kind of depends on your top, but on that bottom third, 5, 6, 7 is right where I like to be. Again, where you position your light is up to you as well, right? I like to be flush with, I like to use the maximum amount of plant as I can, right? If we can add an extra 2 feet of canopy depth, I mean, that's a huge multiplier on our square footage. So I'm keeping mine, we've got our base here. So I keep it about flush with the top of the pot because we don't want to be lower than the pot. We don't want to blast these pots with side lighting, right? We're just going to heat up our substrate. So we're keeping it there. And if we see that the plant could probably use to get pushed up on the second run, then we'll pull it up about 4 inches, right? So there's going to be, every genetic's going to be a little different on that. And we can get into that, but those are some rough numbers for you. And then we can look at your facility and figure out exactly where you guys should be as well. We have that ability. Cool. Thanks, Michael.
Good question, Michael. Thank you. Name and where you're from, sir.
Hello, how you doing? My name is Rigo. I'm with Cloudy and also Cultivated. And I was pretty much with this light, you're eliminating size C buds, right? Like some companies, they do A, B, and C's. Are you technically removing the C size buds and really only producing A's and B's for the most part?
I heard him, Serge. So good question. I was actually going to cue Serge up to make sure he asked this one. right? So we're talking labor savings on underclearing. Now we have 6 or 7 bags to put weed in, right? We've got purple A's, we've got green A's, we've got green B's, we've got purple B's, we've got micros, we've got C's, what have you, right? A lot of this yield increase is because there's no more micros, and we're sub 5% on smalls in almost every run with Under Canopy, right? So you're taking those smalls and you're making them, and again, color uniformity as well. They're not only the size, but they're the same color, so they go into the bag, and nobody knows the difference. So if you think about how much time it takes for your trimmers to sort, you can cut that out.
That also helps with they say you have the flower variation from the top nodes from
Oh, yeah.
to the bottom leaves and whatnot. And
Yeah.
say as a home grower, sometimes you have like cut branches instead of the whole plant at once. Whereas, sometimes you cut off just the top branches and then you leave the bottoms to kind of harvest a little longer.
Yeah, I used to do
With
that in
that-
outdoor. We'd take like 4 or 5 cuts because
Right.
you'd want it to harden. Yep, exactly.
And now you can kind of like harvest everything all at once and
Yeah.
have a higher yield.
And so a lot of people, you'll see you go into their dry rooms and there'll be just a gradient. It'll be purple, 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 and then it hits a point and it's like green as it gets, right?
Right, correct.
Obviously your plant's hanging upside down, sorry. So it's green on the bottom, but it's hanging upside down. And so it's, you're in the dry room and it looks chronic down here, and then you pick up, you go 2 feet into the canopy and you're like, it's bright green, and I'll have to sell this for $700, right?
And
So
they're $200. How much are they, by the way?
the lights?
Yeah.
Depends on your commercial pricing. Retail is going to hit you, a little less than $200, but
Okay.
commercial is completely different. It really depends on how big your facility
What's
is.
the length on them?
About 4 feet, 46
4 feet?
inches.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Flipped in
Awesome.
end to end, 46 inches.
You can pick them up here at Indoor Sun Hydro? Or?
Yes, you can.
Okay, oh, sweet. Perfect.
There's a plug for Kevin wherever he ran to. Oh, there he is.
Hey, how you doing? So you said it could go to 120 to 240 volts on a circuit.
So whatever you have available,
Right.
120, 240, or 277, we have the power cord for you.
So on a
it's
120, you could get, you said around
10.
10. And on a 240, you could get 20.
About 17.
Oh, 17?
Yep.
Okay, and that's at 120 max volts, or wattage, my bad.
That's at max wattage, yeah.
Max wattage?
Yeah. Yep.
How low does it get? How low can you get the wattage?
About 40% on intensity.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
That's a pretty
Depends
good.
on how many you have clipped in.
Right.
But 40% is a really nice standard. 40 to 45 is really nice.
That's pretty good. And I like the idea that you could daisy chain and remove them easily. So
Yeah,
that's a good
it just,
idea.
again, we just really came at the design trying to make it as easy as possible to fit into existing facilities.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm an electrician, so I kind of understand how it's
Man.
interesting, obviously running it on your circuits, but if you're running more than 20, you got to consider more circuits. So
Right.
That's awesome. But it's also a good idea. I like it.
Yeah, electricians are expensive, dude.
Yeah, it does get expensive, especially with materials.
They're definitely not getting cheaper.
Yeah.
Not getting cheaper. So.
But yeah.
Good
perfect.
question.
And let's go back and give that shameless plug to Kevin at Indoor Sun Hydros, where you can buy these lights online right now at indoorsun.com.
Yeah. Favenlighting.com is your best way to get to us. Yeah, it's all good. Faven Lighting is your best way to get to us if you're a commercial operator. You fill out the lighting layout form, and we can get you the specs over and really base it on your facility. So that's all.
Good question. Thank you. Over here.
More questions. See, I knew I had to keep it short because the questions were going to be.
Who had their hand up?
Hey, what's up? My name is Tyler from Grodan. I noticed in a lot of the pictures there, the racks were elevated up a couple inches. I guess they were connected to something on the end of it or something. What's a recommended amount off of the tray that you would recommend it be raised in order to get the light as close to the bottoms as possible?
Good question. So light placement is, on your first run on a new cultivar, I always say keep the base of the light about the same level as your substrate, right? The top of your substrate. So Grodan, right, we're talking rock wool. So if you're in a Hugo, whatever it may be, you want to be just elevated enough, right? You don't want to waste any light blasting the substrate, and you don't want to heat up the substrate. That's not what it's there for, right? So the lowest point is flush with the very top of the substrate, pot, rock wool, what have you. And some strains, there's many people in here who's ran Glitter Bomb, right? Glitter Bomb's a straight up sequoia of a tree. Okay, so you're still going to increase that light. You're still going to pull that light up a little higher. Whereas if you're running something like, I don't think anybody grows this anymore, but if you're running a Bubba, you kind of want that as low as possible because that plant's staying short, right? So you want to just optimize your light throw into the canopy. So it really depends on the strain, but on your first time with that strain, I would start flush with the top of the pot or top of the substrate.